The night was heavy with darkness as I gripped the steering wheel of my old sedan, navigating the desolate road that cut through the dense woods. The moon hung high in the ink-black sky, casting an eerie glow on the gnarled branches that reached out like skeletal fingers. I glanced at the clock, 2:37 a.m., regret gnawing at the edges of my consciousness. I should have never accepted that invitation to the remote cabin, an invitation that seemed to carry the weight of a dare. My friend, Jake, had called it an escape from the mundane, a weekend of adventure in the heart of the wilderness. What I didn't know then was that the journey itself would be the source of my nightmares. The GPS insisted I follow the narrow road, devoid of any signs of civilization. The thick canopy overhead swallowed the feeble glow of my headlights, rendering the surroundings an impenetrable abyss. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the occasional rustle of unseen creatures in the underbrush. Unease settled in the pit of my stomach, amplifying the isolation. I shook my head, attempting to dispel the growing sense of dread that clung to the edges of my consciousness. "Just keep driving," I muttered to myself, my voice swallowed by the void beyond the windshield, but the road seemed endless, winding through the forest like a serpent's path. The GPS droned on, indifferent to my growing discomfort. A glance at my fuel gauge revealed the needle hovering dangerously close to empty. Panic set in as I scanned the darkness for any signs of a gas station, a town, anything. As the minutes ticked away, the forest began to close in around me. The trees leaned menacingly over the road, casting elongated shadows that danced in the periphery of my vision. My headlights illuminated twisted forms that seemed to move with a life of their own, playing tricks on my overwrought imagination. A strange sensation crept over me, an otherworldly presence that seemed to cling to the air. Sweat beaded on my forehead, and a shiver ran down my spine as if an unseen force was probing the boundaries of my sanity. I tried to shake it off, attributing it to exhaustion and the oppressive solitude. Then, a dim glow emerged on the horizon, a dilapidated gas station standing alone in the desolation. Relief washed over me as I pulled into the eerie oasis. The flickering fluorescent lights overhead cast a sickly pallor over the cracked pavement. I fumbled for my wallet, the anticipation of reaching the cabin eclipsing the ominous atmosphere. The gas station attendant, a weathered man with vacant eyes, took my money without uttering a word. As the ancient pump wheezed to life, I took a moment to glance around. The desolation was absolute, a void that seemed to consume any trace of life or sound. The forest loomed on all sides, a silent witness to my solitary journey. As I resumed my drive, the unsettling feeling persisted, refusing to be dismissed. The road seemed to twist and writhe beneath my tires, a living entity that resisted my attempts to escape its clutches. The whispers of the wind through the trees morphed into ghostly murmurs, carrying fragments of voices that echoed in the recesses of my mind. The forest, once a mere backdrop, now seemed to press in on me from all sides. Shadows flitted across the road, taking on grotesque shapes that seemed to mock the fragility of my sanity. I gripped the wheel tighter, my knuckles turning white as I strained to discern reality from the hallucinations that played tricks on my weary mind. An inexplicable compulsion urged me to accelerate, as if outrunning an unseen malevolence. The trees blurred into a disorienting kaleidoscope of shapes and shadows. My heart pounded in my chest, each beat echoing the growing sense of doom that clung to me like a second skin. Then, a figure emerged from the darkness, a silhouette standing in the middle of the road. Panic seized me as I slammed on the brakes, the tires screeching in protest. The figure remained unmoving, shrouded in the impenetrable darkness. With trepidation, I lowered my window, the cold night air biting into my skin. "Hello?" I called, my voice shaky. No response. The figure loomed like a specter, a harbinger of the unknown. As I strained to make out details, the figure slowly turned towards me. Hollow eyes, devoid of life, stared into mine. A guttural moan emanated from its lips, sending a chill down my spine. In that moment, the forest seemed to come alive with a cacophony of unearthly sounds, whispers, wails, and distant cries that pierced the veil between the living and the supernatural. Panic seized me, and I slammed my foot on the gas pedal, the tires screeching as I fled from the haunting figure. The road, now a twisting labyrinth, offered no respite. Shadows danced on the periphery of my vision, and the whispers grew into a symphony of madness that threatened to consume me whole. Time lost its meaning as the night stretched into an endless nightmare. The road, once a lifeline, now led me deeper into the heart of the forest, where the line between reality and delusion blurred into an indistinguishable haze. My breath came in ragged gasps, the boundaries of reason fracturing with each passing moment. And then, as abruptly as it had begun, the forest relented. The road widened, and the gnarled trees gave way to a clearing. In the center stood the cabin, Jake's promised haven, now an ominous structure that loomed in the pale moonlight. I stumbled out of the car, my legs unsteady beneath me. The air hung heavy with an unnatural stillness, as if the very fabric of reality held its breath. The cabin's windows stared back at me like soulless eyes, and the creaking of the door echoed through the silence. As I stepped over the threshold, the door slammed shut behind me, sealing my fate in the suffocating darkness. The whispers, once distant, now surrounded me, their words unintelligible but laden with a malevolent intent. The walls seemed to pulse with a sinister energy, and the air grew thick with the stench of ancient secrets. In the flickering candlelight, I saw them, shadows that moved with a life of their own, ethereal forms that whispered forgotten truths and unspeakable horrors. The cabin, a conduit between worlds, bore witness to the convergence of the living and the dead. As the night wore on, the boundaries between reality and nightmare blurred into a tapestry of fear. I was no longer a mere traveler lost in the woods, I was a pawn in a cosmic game where the rules defied understanding. The forest had claimed me, ensnaring my soul in its malevolent embrace, and the echoes of my desperate screams were swallowed by the darkness that lingered beyond the cabin walls. And so, the night unfolded, a symphony of horror that played on the strings of my unraveling sanity. The forest, once a backdrop, became my eternal prison, and the road, a twisted path that led only to damnation. The whispers persisted, the shadows danced, and the darkness claimed its prize, leaving me to wander the haunted corridors of my own shattered mind.